Hi, and welcome. I am Denise Morales, President of Global Diplomacy Leadership Actions for Empowerment Change. In this episode, we will talk about Chinese diplomacy, its main characteristics, its priorities in 2025, as well as its goals for the future. Let's start. China, a country that is becoming increasingly influential in the global diplomatic sphere due to its proactivity in promoting multilateralism, openness and cooperation, and also promoting the resolution of conflicts through dialogue and consultation between conflicting states parties. In an unprecedentedly changing world, China has become an important global diplomatic actor. From getting the concept of a common future for humanity established in several United Nations General Assembly resolutions, to gaining the support of more than 100 countries for the three major global initiatives proposed by China, as well as the joining of more than three-quarters of the world's countries to the Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese diplomacy has had a greater relevance at the international level. Let's look at the main characteristics of Chinese diplomacy to learn about its diplomatic priorities. In 2024, China held a series of diplomatic events both at home and abroad and held talks on foreign affairs. Among the achievements of Chinese diplomacy back in 2024 are the head of state diplomacy, as the highest form of Chinese diplomacy due to the President Xi Jinping personally planned and led head of state diplomacy. Among the most important diplomatic events for China were the 70th anniversary of the Five Principles of Peaceful Coexistence, the Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, and the Forum on China-Arab States Cooperation. Just in 2024, China's president traveled to Europe, Central Asia, and Latin America. One of the distinctive elements of Chinese diplomacy is its ability to undertake independent initiatives to promote peace and thereby facilitate dialogue to initiate solutions to international conflicts of international significance. China's foreign policy has new concepts based on China's new initiatives such as the Global Security Initiative, the Global Development Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative. It is important to mention that China's role in solving global problems is increasingly accepted, especially by countries in the global south. One of the most anticipated diplomatic events for 2025 is the Shanghai Cooperation Forum, of which China will host in Tianjin and assume the rotating presidency. In fact, China is organizing more than 100 events in the political, security, economic, and people-to-people relations fields under the slogan Sustaining the Spirit of Shanghai, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in action. In its relations with major powers, China attaches great importance to mutual respect between states, friendship between people. In this way, for instance, China and Russia celebrated the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations in 2024. This year, 2025, marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and the European Union. In this year also marks the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and India. However, the future of Chinese diplomacy is defined by three main objectives. First, the defense of international equity and justice. Second, the safeguarding world peace and stability. And third, the international cooperation. Specifically in 2025, Chinese diplomacy will focus on defending its national interests, promoting world peace and stability, promoting unity in the global south, as well as demonstrating that peaceful development should be taken into account by all countries. Now let's talk about China and the United Nations. China believes that complex problems highlight the relevance of the United Nations and that the urgent challenges require the defense of the United Nations legitimate authority. For China, all countries must be recognized as equal members. The principle of equity and justice must be respected. China's diplomacy pursues the development of its country and promotes a just global order. Finally, let's talk a bit about China and multilateral diplomacy. China's participation in multilateral diplomacy, that is, diplomacy in which three or more actors participate in international relations to develop international cooperation, to create treaties, or participate in international forums, has been very important and has been development since 1971 when China achieved a seat at the United Nations. Since then, China has been part of more than 100 international intergovernmental organizations, as well as has signed countless international treaties. In addition, China has been actively participating in global governance issues as well as in the regionalization of Asia through cooperation. Furthermore, China has undertaken efforts to consolidate its relations with neighboring countries and foster consensus with developing nations, with the aim of establishing a community of shared future. In this way, Chinese diplomacy, through its principles, has contributed to cooperation and inclusiveness, development and multilateralism, as well as world peace. That is how we have reached the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. See you soon.